Hello, this is episode 2 of the Comic and the Counsel. We are here. I am Rene in my tiny West Hollywood studio, and Jonathan is in his plush Portland pad, as you can see.
Yeah, downtown Portland, Oregon, baby.
Looks nice. Thank you for listening. We did have someone email us a question. Once again, you guys email us any questions you may have.
Yeah, absolutely. And subscribe.
Oh, that of course, yes. But if you want some airtight advice, feel free to email us.
Come to us.
Counsel at Gmail, comicandcounsel at gmail.com. Blah, blah, blah. And Kyle Hilliard emailed us asking, what is the worst heckle I've ever gotten on stage? And can I sue a heckler if they get more laughs than me? That's really funny. Thank you, Kyle, for emailing us a question.
That would be nice. Yeah.
The worst heckle I've gotten, let's see, I've definitely been heckled, and it's always annoying.
Of course, this rarely happens. It's just mostly like standing ovations.
Yeah, I mostly
like,
get
maybe once or twice, like in some small town, like nobody cares about.
I get.
So tell us about those idiot rednecks.
I get flowers and bras thrown on me all the time, but
No,
yeah, once in a blue moon, I get.
It's got to get tested for STDs. Like
one time I can think of, I did get someone in the back booed. I heard like in the very back. That was
just a plain boo.
Yeah, it kind of threw me off.
That's pretty old fashioned. They were just like,
yeah, they got offended.
boo.
Yeah, next
What
thing
was it? Oh,
tomato whizzing by my head or something.
Oh, so they were offended, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't. It was when I first started doing stand-up, like probably my first year. But to go along with
and
that,
this was, just to be clear, this was in Southern California, right?
Oh, San Diego, yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes me think of probably the worst show I've done. It was so bad I wouldn't even say it's a show. Like when I very first started, these guys they put on a bar show, which is a common thing, right? Not a comedy club, but it's at a bar where there's like a little stage, like where you see open mics or bands play. So they had a stage, right? And but what they had, it was packed, but they were showing a football game. I don't remember if it was college football or NFL, but it was a football game, and there was a ton of people there watching the game, but they didn't turn off the game. So everyone was like facing toward the TVs, not even looking at the stage, with this like loud game going. And then the guys were like, "All right, we're going to start the show." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And comedians actually went up there and started talking into a microphone, but you could barely hear because there was a loud football game going on.
Right.
And there's like the comics right here speaking, and the guy's like got his back turned just a few feet in front of him watching the game. Like what's going on back here? Like it was when I very, very first started. So I was kind of just like, is this what comedy is? Like,
yeah, right.
Do this. But it was, that was
to like try to make jokes like with John Madden while you're watching the game or something. Yeah.
It was so bad. Like I would just walk out now. I'd be like, this isn't a show. Like this is a joke. What is this?
Right.
It was that bad, but that was in San Diego as well.
So did everyone else have the same complaints? Like, was everybody else kind of confused as to what happened?
Yeah.
Like why it was there?
With a bunch of like brand new comics. Like we had just started doing open mics. I was maybe like a month into comedy, like doing mics. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, oh, what's this? This is a show. This is how, okay.
I was going to say, just as a side note, it kind of reminds me of actually a situation we were in together in Charleston. I think we played some show at it was like they had a stage, but it was kind of like it was otherwise like a family dinner place, like Applebee. Oh. Do you remember that? I don't remember what the name was. And
like the show, the Map Room in West Ashley.
No, I think I know what you're talking about. This was different though. It was like it was dinner. It was like families with their little kids, and then they were like, "Yeah, that's the stage." And we're like, "Oh, are you serious?" And we started playing something that's close to hardcore music for people who aren't familiar with subgenres. I mean, it's heavy music, right?
Right.
And they were like, yeah. And what happened is I think Shane booked it with his personality, but maybe didn't show him, like didn't give him the tape. You know what I'm saying? So like I think that they were like, yeah, this guy seems really cool and nice. And so we got the show, and then we started playing, and like all the fathers in the restaurant were just like, you know, very confused. I think some people might have gotten their dinners for free.
Oh
So
my
I kind of
God.
chalked that up. That's probably one of the better shows I've played. Just in terms of like doing something good for the world. But
Wow.
I don't remember where that was, but it just kind of reminded me of it. It was it probably wasn't in West Ashley, but it wasn't the map room. I think that it may have been. I don't know, but I don't remember that. The map room was a smaller place, I think. There's a second part to that question, or you can go ahead with what you were going to say.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I'm sure a lot of crowds in South Carolina probably didn't really like our loud hardcore music.
Yeah, it's not a
Um,
big
it wasn't exactly I don't know, Hootie and the Blowfish or Leonard Skinner or
or Edwin McCain. What's that song called? I'll Be, you know. And I'll be your crying shoulder.
oh wow. Okay, yeah.
So he's from like Columbia, and he basically, anytime somebody's having an event in South Carolina, he's there. I mean, if it's a good event, right? Like if it's really, really good, you got like Hootie, and then you've got Edwin McCain's kind of like, if you can't get Hootie, you probably want Edwin. But there's a second part to that question, right?
Oh yeah, Kyle's question. Oh, can the heckler sue me if, or no, can I sue the heckler if they get more laughs than me? Um,
First, has that ever happened
no,
in all heckles? Okay.
not that I
This-
know.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, afterwards you wouldn't know, but I mean, you could hear it, right? Like if everybody got a big chuckle out of a heckler, but from
The
what I've
heckler
seen,
goes up there
hecklers
and just
usually aren't
starts
that
killing.
funny. Yeah, yeah, right. Um, I've seen comedians invite hecklers to the stage, but I've never seen somebody really do anything with it.
Thank God, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hecklers are usually. This is actually a good question, I think. Just in general, do you think hecklers are because I think, I'll just tell you, I think they probably are men, like all the time. Do you? It's not.
No, a lot of the time it's just a drunk person, but yeah, drunk women all the time, sure.
Oh, so it's more just like who's been up, who's been out the latest, right?
Yeah, it's I think it's a combination of people who are just drunk usually, but also people who just like, well, yeah, they think they're helping or they want to be a part of the show, right? They want attention, so
Yeah, that's pretty
they,
much,
they
yeah.
yell out.
That describes a lot of people's activities and decisions in life, I think.
Right,
It's
right.
just when you see somebody arguing in the store, like that's pretty much what it is. Like they want attention, they think they're helping. Somebody in Whole Foods 2 days ago just told me to like get in the other line because it was the express line, and I had one item and she had like three, and then everybody in the line was like, it's faster over here, you shouldn't have told him to do that. But she was just kind of like, she kind of was being annoying, but she didn't really mean to. She was just thinking she was helping. But
Mm.
which is extremely, there's a strong connection between that and the comedy stage, obviously. The Whole Foods line.
Well, there
But
was
so
actually.
the question.
Oh, it's funny you say like they think they're helping because there was 2 nights ago when I was at work at the Comedy Store, a guy was heckling, and we had to tell him to, to not yell out, and he was like, "I'm showing support." And it's like, okay, well, you can show support by, laughing and not commenting on every line the comic says. You know,
Right.
it's people,
Do,
they drink all day and then they come there for the show at night, and by then they're just
exactly.
tanked and they're
Right.
like, I'm part of this show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. They drink all day. It's not that they just had like 2 or 3 extras, right?
Mm.
So to that same point, I don't want to like drag this on too much, but that guy, do you think that he really thought he was helping, or do you think he's just an ass who's like coming up with an excuse?
Um, well, actually, I think at that point he was drunk enough to where he probably does like I would assume a lot of people don't go to comedy shows that often, so they are probably just there like feeling the energy and feeling laughter, and then if they comment like once or twice and like get away with it, they feel like, oh, it's okay. Like I'm in this like party atmosphere. In their head, they're probably like, yeah, I'm showing support. I'm being like, woohoo, let's go, like a hype man kind of thing. But you know,
Right, right.
you can probably get away with saying like one or two things, but yeah, other than that, you gotta. It's like no, you gotta stop.
Yeah.
It's
It's
becoming a
just like, yeah,
distraction. So in his head, he probably thought he was like just going along with it, but I'm sure there's times where people they well no there is for sure times people make say something like that as an excuse because they'll be talking the whole time and then you tell them to not talk and then they go, oh, I'm just laughing, like, oh, I can't laugh, like I'm gonna get kicked out for laughing. It's like, well,
yeah,
obviously that's not the case, otherwise we wouldn't be talking to you. Like,
right.
but people just get drunk, and it's like, hey, there's 300 people in this room and I'm only talking to your table, do you see the problem here?
Right, right.
No, you're
So
too
like,
drunk, okay.
yeah, so like a combination of a few things, but some of it probably is just people who haven't been out. Some people may have just not been out enough in general. You know what I mean? Like maybe they
Right.
just haven't been that, been out at late night events enough. But so Kyle's second part of the question was,
Yeah,
can
nice.
yeah, can you get sued for if somebody gets more laughs than you?
Can I sue the heckler? Well,
I mean, yeah, so if you can sue the heckler for more if they get more laughs than you. Um
that's funny.
yeah. I there's plenty of attorneys who would take the case.
I was gonna say, yeah, you can
Uh,
file any lawsuit, right? But I think they would just
right.
laugh at it.
So that was that. Yeah, that's how I was going to answer the question actually to Kyle. Kyle, the answer to the question, and this is how most people phrase their legal questions. Almost everybody will end it with, uh, can they sue me for that, or could I be sued for that, or could I sue for that? And the answer to those questions is always the same. It's always yes, because the clerk of court doesn't really judge the merits of your case. They just like cash your check, right? So anybody can file it, and then it's just a matter of how much it costs to get it dismissed. So to Kyle, yeah, somebody, I mean, he could sue somebody, and that would be hilarious. And I would love to not take the case, but maybe just sort of be like an of counsel, just kind of helping just to see what happens. Yeah. But what would your theory be? I mean, if you even would try to, for just a civil suit, I mean, I don't even know, like
Yeah,
you'd be looking at harassment or,
it's ridiculous.
I mean, if somebody was like doing something to you from what they were gleaning from the stage, it would be your bigger problem would probably be somebody copying you. So even if you bombed, right? Like if you bombed with a really bad joke, but it was really edgy, then somebody could steal your joke and go use it. And, that would be obviously that would be a legally cognizable claim, even though it wouldn't seem like that at the outset, but, or it could be anyways. But no, I don't think you'd have much of a case, if somebody just heckled you and got more laughs. I mean, if they defamed you, if they said something, they lied about you, if they were like, Rene is not funny and he has crabs, and everybody laughed at that, then you could sue them. But it wouldn't be so much that he got laughs. It would be because, he lied and ruined your reputation in front of
Yeah,
a bunch of people.
defamation, yeah. That's funny. Well, hopefully, I don't think it'll ever go that far. Although it probably has. I'm sure there's been wild lawsuits along those lines involving hecklers and comedians. I'm sure there has been, or I'm sure there's been stuff like people being offended, right? Like suing. It's probably like more like a person in the audience suing the comic for saying something edgy or offensive.
Right. Those would still be interesting cases that I'd like to take, but I don't know. I don't know how many of them pan out that well, but
Um,
no, I mean, if you were going to be sued for saying something on stage, you know, same thing could apply. I mean, obviously if you defame someone in the audience, but it's kind of a free place legally for the most part.
Thank you again, Kyle, for emailing us. So random story that I remembered today randomly. I was using mouthwash, and normally I get the a few years ago I bought a mouthwash called Crest Pro Health.
Good
Um,
stuff. Yeah.
I was gonna say a little little
That's my
sponsorship
brand, baby.
marketing, whatever. No, so normally I get like Listerine or like even the store brand, whatever Listerine um store brand is, whatever CVS or Target, wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
But this one
Like
time, I think they were out, so I got Crest Pro Health, which I had never gotten before. And a little while after using it, I had these like dark brown stains on my teeth, like really dark, like not like coffee stains, or like really like dark brown blotches on my teeth.
really
Like it was it
like
was
isolated, like spots, not just general
no, yeah,
discoloration.
not just yeah, exactly. Like actual like dark spots that looked like they were like drawn on there almost, and like
Oh,
it was so bizarre, and I was like, "What the?" No, so I thought like they might have been like from coffee or something like that, but I'm like, I've been drinking coffee for years. Every morning I have a cup, and I'm like, this wouldn't be coffee. And I'm like, oh, what did I do differently? I'm like, oh, this mouthwash is the thing that I've been using that's different. So I looked it up, and there was like all these testimonials or reviews on like people getting stains on their teeth from it. So I'm like, oh shit, like,
yeah.
and I'm like, because I was trying to brush it off, nothing would like help it come off, and so I'm like, a thought is like, has someone sued them? Like, can they get sued for this? Like, how do you go after this giant company? And but there was so many reviews on it, like people saying how it stained their teeth. So I was like, oh, this is definitely it. So I stopped using it. I went to the dentist to get them hopefully cleaned off, And the dentist, which wasn't my regular dentist, she said that that it was coffee stains, and I was like, no, I think it's from this mouthwash that I looked up, and because I drink coffee all the time. And she cleaned them off. Luckily, they came off the stains, and and then I went to rinse my mouth out with the mouthwash there at the dentist office, and of course they had Crest Pro Health. That would have been funny if they just came immediately back, and I'm like, "See, I told you."
Yeah.
But
Brown stains. Yeah.
luckily, it was okay for one use. But then yeah, I stopped using it, and they never came. They didn't come back, and I was like, okay, that was weird, but
But you found people with the same complaints.
oh, a ton
Yeah.
online.
So I'll just say this to interject it. If
Yeah,
anyone's listening and you have that same thought, first thing to do is just Google like class action and the company, because that'll help you. Because if there's already, for one thing, there might be a settlement out there that you can actually just sign up for and get money. It's very, very easy.
right.
I've done it like with Red Bull. They had some like misinformation on their label, and I got $8 just by
Nice.
giving them my email address, basically. So, but yeah. So, are you going to sue them? Are your teeth back to normal?
Well, yeah, no, this was 6 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I just randomly remembered it uh today when I was using mouthwash. It popped in my head. And I was like, oh yeah, I should have looked up the class action lawsuit, but I was more just concerned with going to the dentist immediately and getting them removed. And I was like, all right, cool, they're gone. Thank
Yeah.
God.
Kind of a basic product liability issue, which the good news for people who are listening to this, you might think that you have suffered some horrible, nasty teeth like Rene from just simply buying a different toothpaste and then having somebody gaslight you into thinking that it's your fault for drinking coffee. I understand why they'd say that, because that's probably, well, I'll tell you this too. The message you got, we don't know for sure because you just brought this up. There may have been a lawsuit about that, but the message you got may have been a canned response that they had already crafted, knowing that this was a problem, right? To
Right.
blame coffee, like, because it's like theoretically possible that it could be whatever. But if you do, just with products in general, it's a little bit different than making a basic negligence case where you're trying to prove that somebody did something wrong. In America, it's kind of strict liability if you make a product that's dangerous. And normally you think of maybe a car that blows up when it shouldn't, from a minor accident. But it could also be something that's dangerous in the sense that it's a danger to the person in general, that it causes something that's unwanted and unwarranted. So that's the good news, that it's strict liability. So you don't really have to prove that they did anything wrong, but you have to show that it was dangerous in this condition. And that's why I was asking about class actions, because that's what they're really about. It's like you have a bunch of people who have a really kind of crappy claim for like $10. You know what I mean? Especially if you can get it off of your teeth, then there's no real damage. You just go clean it off. But still, it's an aggravation because you didn't know what was happening. You were stressed. You didn't know if it was your fault. Somebody else told you from the company that it was your fault because you drank too much coffee. So all of that aggravation can be compensated for in a class action situation. And that's really what they're for, so that people don't have to bring those lawsuits individually, and they can just join in.
Right.
But so basically, are you still using Crest?
No. No. That's just funny though, like how it was like very obvious and like, yeah, definitely an inconvenience to have to go to the dentist because yeah, brushing them and using another mouthwash didn't do anything. I had to get
Yeah.
them like cleaned by the dentist, and then it was weird that the dentist was so like, oh no, that's it's not from the mouthwash, that's from probably because never even heard of that before. Like, how weird is that though? That mouthwash, whatever chemicals they use, whatever's in it, like does that to people's teeth. It's bizarre. Like a lot of people online had complaints about it, so it's definitely a
Huh.
thing. Actually, I worked for a company that had a class action lawsuit. I want to say like twice. A valet company. I don't know. So I guess an
Really?
employee. Yeah, I guess an employee because they weren't like apparently they weren't giving us like proper break or lunchtime or something like that.
Oh, well, kudos to the lawyers out there in California protecting the rights of the workers.
Right.
So how did you hear about that? Was it
It was
just
like I got an email and then it was like you could, or I know something in the mail and it's like, you can sign this and or opt out. And I got like, I forget, it wasn't that much money, but yeah. Um, have you had any?
class action lawsuits myself? So most of my career has been about 10 years, and most of it was spent as an in-house attorney, like just managing the legal affairs of a university. So with litigation, it was mostly, if somebody sued us, it was kind of working with the other law firm and managing the strategy and everything. But yeah, if you're a large organization, I've seen a lot of class actions, not against this organization, but just like class action notices, because you deal with a lot of vendors, right?
Hmm.
And they may have stiffed some customers 20 cents per purchase, and so the way bankruptcy works, it's a really pretty good system, is that the court has to notify and like find everybody, the trustees in charge of the bankruptcy case. They have to find you and tell you, like, I know you don't know you have a claim, but you do, or you might, and so here's how you can easily get the money.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've looked at a few of those things. And then also I did spend some time teaching as well, college students. So it was I taught business law, so we talked about uh, class actions a little bit.
So you were the general counsel and also a business law professor or teacher at the school?
Yeah, I was the general counsel for the university, and as I had like a side role as an adjunct
Oh,
professor, I taught one class a semester. Yeah, business law. It's like a, what do you call it? It's a prerequisite if you're getting a business degree,
oh,
right?
okay.
So it's just a standard class. Whether you're getting a degree in finance or economics or marketing or whatever, you got to take that class.
Oh, cool. Was that fun?
What part of the teaching?
Hmm.
Yeah, man, teaching, it's fun because, well, at least in that setting, it was, well, and I guess in any setting, if you're teaching, you get to kind of keep in touch with the younger population. So you kind of always know what's going on. So I appreciated that aspect of it. And it was good in the job that I had because it just kind of helped keep me, uh, kind of I don't know what's the best, like, just, kind of on, it kept me on my toes a little bit because I always have to kind of be answering questions from like a new generation, right? So
Right.
that's what I did at work. But then you have younger people who are asking you questions, and um, you have to kind of respond to that. But then, college students are fun in all sorts of ways.
Was anything anything like crazier happen that you can share, or like any students ask any wild questions or
Mm, well, yeah, I mean, so students, they have a lot of questions in class. I mean, I think most college students probably save them for later. They don't always ask them in the class.
or they probably
But
save them for Twitter?
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Twitter or Rate My Professor. You could actually go on there. I think someone told me that I should die or something on there. Maybe it
Wow,
wasn't
that's extreme.
yeah. But yeah, that's, you can go, and a couple of people have said stuff about me on there. But
I didn't like today's class. My professor should die. You're like, oh,
yeah,
okay. Wow, that's extreme.
probably wasn't, it probably wasn't that website, but it's interesting. I mean, students, they get angry at you sometimes, and I've been told to eat a dick
Nice.
via email. Yeah. And I mean, I was kind of offended, but I was more offended at the lack of creativity. Well, I told them, I was like, you could have said anything. The semester's over, right? Like, this is anonymous. You just had a class with the school's legal counsel. I thought I taught you better than this. Like, why would you just say that?
While you're teaching, like students, have any of their like parents ever tried to like get involved and get angry at you?
Oh, yeah, parents get involved. Not with me. That never happened, but I was representing the whole university as the attorney. So,
Oh, I'm
you
sure
know,
it happened quite often, right?
well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say super often, but
Well, you have, in my head, I assume you have some, I don't know, stereotypical rich kid frat guy type who gets into trouble and he just like, my daddy will take care of it.
yeah, yeah.
And then his dad comes and yells at
You
you.
know who my dad is?
Yeah, exactly. That.
My
That-
daddy owns a car dealership
yeah.
in Myrtle Beach. All right. He's got commercials.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. President. Move out of the way. This guy has a car dealership.
Your dad
Uh,
sells F-150s? Oh, excuse
yeah.
me. Hold the phone.
And that's not really, I've literally seen people do stuff like that. Trying to get a grade changed. It's not as often as you think. I actually think it probably happens more at larger schools, because I think the stakes are higher. But
Right.
I've seen people definitely try to influence things. You know, like a friend of the family, that's I grew up with that guy, that's his daughter, nothing that makes any sense. But I think people, I just think it happens a lot more at like a higher level because one, they can get away with it and the stakes are higher. So there's more money. I mean, the guy at Yale like sold out his entire legacy for $300,000 to get somebody else's kid into Yale. And he was the head soccer coach at Yale. And I mean, you could have gotten your kids into Yale by just being the soccer coach.
Yeah.
So for 300 grand, like that's just an Italian sports car. And like, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much left to do with that money. So I thought that was kind of sad. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's telling that people are this desperate, that they're so scared for their kids, that they're willing to do all this to just because they think it'll make the difference in their kid's life.
Right.
Like, uh, Aunt Becky, I forget it, Lori,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, of course. Well, I mean, there is truth to that. I can't really relate because I'm not a parent. Um, Nor did my parents do anything like that for me. Um, but I feel like it's definitely, like you said, it's a thing that parents will deal with to go like they're so worried about their children's lives that they'll go to these great lengths. Because I think though society as a whole actually does still value a degree, and specifically like a well-respected school. Like they really value that, like still a lot. Like even though you think it would be different, but I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of people respect a like they would hire you if you had a degree from Harvard and you know a 4-year degree from Harvard versus someone who has 30 years experience, you know,
Yeah.
just because it's the name Harvard, and you're like, yeah, but this guy is 50 years old and been doing this for 30 years. Are you going to take this 23-year-old kid because he's from Harvard? It's like, but it seems like that's still the case with a lot of things. I mean, like I said, I could be wrong, but it definitely is a thing where people go, they hear the name, right, or they see it and they go, oh, Yale, Harvard, right, and they go, ooh, okay, like
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I
you
think it's probably
fit.
declined a little bit, but yeah, there's still that,
But
basic kind of.
even just saying you have a degree in general, I feel like gets a lot more attention than not, right?
Yeah, oh for sure. And I think also like Americans, we sort of conflate virtue and morality with people's not just education but social status. So like
Mhm.
if you went to community college and this guy went to Harvard, I think that America kind of looks at the guy who went to Harvard and then we just sort of assume he's probably a better guy. Like he's probably
Right.
just a nicer person. He's cleaner, right? Like he's probably nicer to his wife. I think people just sort of assume that because it goes back to when they were a baby. Like we assume that they were better brought up, that they had better parents and so on and so on. And in fact, that guy may actually have been the exception to the rule, right? But beyond that, I mean, he could just be kind of privileged and his parents may have not, might not be indicative of anything. Whereas the kid who was like in community college and had to transfer to Harvard or wherever, that might actually be, you know, better, a better way to ascertain their willpower, at least, if not their intellect. I mean,
Yeah.
it shows something. So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was some interesting things. Thank you for sharing with us, John, and thank you for listening. That was episode 2 of Comic and the Counsel. Um, we will see you soon with episode 3. Feel free to email us any questions, comicandcounsel@gmail.com, and we will give you
and
the most sage
subscribe.
advice. And subscribe and like us,
Yes.
all that good stuff. Good night.